Alright, I've now loaded up 3ds Max and I have imported my Tanaka newly made uh, wrap from the Russian 3D scanner program. So, I have that loaded in along with her native head. So right now I have the Genesis 8 base model, the default one, and then I have my Tanaka head target loaded up again. This is the raw one straight from the game, and I have her. What is this? Oh no, okay. Mouth, helmet, hair, and facial hair and eyes. Helmet not being that important again, but this is what our end result wants to look like. So if I hide my Tanaka head target from the end game, and I show my Genesis 8 Tanaka head, you see it looks pretty good. So, now that we have that out of the way, the eyebrows may need to be adjusted a little bit, but this is an actual 3D model we're going to import into DAZ as well, minus the eyelashes. So let's just go ahead and take care of the eyelashes right now, because Genesis 8 has its own eyelashes, and I honestly don't know how to make my own custom ones to work with DAZ. So clone it. It's going to be called. I could always just do uh, separate or something, but I like doing clone, so it keeps all the normals and all that. So facial hair, and I'll just name this eyebrows. I forgot to put a space. There we go. And then I will delete the eyelashes from the eyebrows. Select the eyelashes, and then I will delete or invert it, then delete the eyebrows. So inverting solves that issue. Now I can get rid of facial hair, eyelashes. There we go. So as you can tell, the eyes are still messed up. Oh, well, let's take a look at this. So what you see inside right here, this is the actual in-game eyes. You can tell they have an extra layer on it, which acts as like a shadow effect for the eyeballs. So you don't really need that. And we're going to go ahead and just hide the eyes. Excuse me. And you'll notice that this part's kind of down a bit, but like I said before, we'll get into that eventually. But for now, let's just go ahead and focus on fixing the body type. So notice how the body is leaning, like we mentioned before, and the original one for the actual Genesis 8 model is not leaning. It's a lot straighter. So what we're going to have to do is create a mask of some sort for this. And to do that, let's go ahead and just hide this, use this one, and here we go. So this is going to be our master Genesis 8 female. So I'm going to go ahead and clone it. I'm just going to name it, leave it as quad, and I'll just type master. So in case I mess up, I can always just reuse this one. So here's our test. I'll just change the name to test. And I'll hide the higher and all that too while I'm at it. No use in having that. So first up, what I want to do is select, I believe it's vertex paint. And then we're going to do vertex color, and let's see, map channel, not rename. Where was it? Where was it? Or was it this one? Okay, vertex color, that's what it is. And then we're going to go over here. Oh, vertex color. The polygon color one. And if you click this button, it'll show you what's colored, what's not. What I normally do is just color the whole thing one color, so white for me. Okay, something's not right here. It's not working for some reason. I wonder if I messed up somewhere. Normally what's supposed to happen is I'm supposed to be able to paint on this, and then I'm supposed to go down to volume select, which lets me select vertices by their texture map. I select no map so I can change it to a map, and I would change it to vertex color. And I would apply it, and then do vertex color. So right now it's trying to apply it to its current color, which unfortunately I haven't applied yet. So I'll just select, oops, select this, select it all, hit the delete. Hopefully that'll fix it. And there we go. It's just not showing the color for some reason. That's weird. There we go. I fixed it. All right. So I want to change everything to white. So Control A, and then okay, white just doesn't show up. That makes sense. It has to be black then. So black is our default. Uh, just to cheat a little bit, I'm just going to take off the paintbrush and I'm going to, because what I'm doing is just a head. So I can select all this and then I can go ahead and just hit black and it'll make all the polygons I selected black. Now I can actually go in here and let's shrink this a bit to 10. Heck, maybe even 5. There we go. And it still thinks I have this part selected. Excuse me, sorry. And now I'm going to go ahead and try this again. Oh, duh. Okay. It's because I have nothing selected. Alright. So now I'm filling it in. So, gotta remember to make sure it's all selected when you're doing this. I'm just going to try to keep it kind of tame. The reason why I chose 5 is because I wanted to have that kind of transparency, or I don't know what that word proper is. The proper word for that is, sorry. It leaves a somewhat feather effect. And then I'll just... There we go. This one looks pretty uneven. So that's my head so far. Now, normally I'd go all the way up here to right below the chin because it would look better. So, let's just take a look at how it looks like now. So, I have only the skin selected and to be affected. Now I can do volume select again, and notice how it only selects the head because that's the white part. But you want to make sure you don't miss some parts like this. So I got to go and fix this now, which is going to be a simple, do this, and it's all good. You just want to make sure you're clearly covered the entire thing. And I'm sure there's a very similar process in Blender. I don't use Blender, so I don't know. So now I have my head selected. Let's check the fingers. Everything's good. The feet, the toenails. Alright, because the last thing we want is for it to move to what the other one is. So above volume select, let's go ahead and type in Morpher. So, load multiple targets. We're going to load up Tanaka head shape raw, because that's the one that we want to, the head transfer. Now, if we put it to 100, it should show us Tanaka's head. So, what's happening here is that Tanaka's head morph is only transferring the head that we have selected. We've told it not to select the body by making it black. So the black parts is not being transferred while all the white parts are. So the parts that we have not colored are the eyeballs, the mouth, and the face. But at the end of the day, we only want the skin. So let's go ahead and go back to Vertex Paint. And let's go ahead and hide the top two so that doesn't confuse us. We'll grab these. So I wonder if I can just do this. Oh, I can. Okay, cool. So what I did was I'm just making sure the toenails aren't picked. I simply clicked on the skin, inverted, and then I selected paint. So now it painted everything else black. The mouth is probably still going to look the same though, so no worries on that. So we're good. So now let's go ahead and go to Morpher, volume select, and it'll move it in. So here's our product. We're going to fix it, of course, but now we have our test, or let's call this is our test, but we'll call it our transfer. Genesis 8 female quad morph transfer. Kind of long, I admit, but it's better to be tidy. So let's copy this and we'll name this one test. Oops, test. We'll hide the morph transfer one, quad test, and we're going to go to vertex paint and we're going to select this button so it recolors. It's going to still apply, but it's going to make it look like it's not colored anymore, because once we flatten it, its color will be permanent. So we do collapse all, and now it's covered. And we're going to go ahead and fix any issues we may have. So let's first line up the eyeballs and everything else. Now, what I normally do is I do one character, and then I get that eyeball, I adjust it to fit the character, do the same thing for the other one, and then that's my master eyeball for that game series, because most eyes from the same games are the same eyeballs, just different textures, from what I can tell at least. So I loaded up my Genesis 8 Halsley model, and this is going to have an eyeball that I already worked on. So this is my Genesis 8 Halsley model. I just imported it. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did for the morph transfer, but this time just focus on the eyeballs. So I'm going to hide Halsley, and I'm going to bring back my test model. So I'm going to change Genesis 8 female to Tanaka quad test, and then I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. So I can either set up the whole thing from scratch again, or I can go to morph transfer, select vertex paint, full volume select, and morpher. Right click, copy, select my character again, and then paste on top of it. This will give me an exact copy of all the properties that I made before. But this time in vertex paint, I'm going to go ahead and go to polygon select. I'm going to put Control A to select everything. Then I'm going to hit white, or no, better yet, I'll just hit erase. So it should, in theory, do it, but nothing happened. So I'm going to paint it white instead. Once this thing switches to white, make sure everything's selected, and paint white. So I painted everything white. That means nothing's affected at the moment. But I'm trying to fix the eyeballs. So I want the eyeballs to be affected. So here I would click the skin as a polygon thing. Then I'd invert it so it only selects the, let me hide the top ones because that's annoying me. Should only select the eyeballs, because the mouth might get selected too though. Yeah, the mouth got selected as well. So luckily, that doesn't really matter. So a way to avoid that is you can make it clear by hitting Alt and X, and you select below it, and you make sure everything else is selected just in case the toenails or something are separated. Then you hit Control I, it'll show you the head. Alt X to undo the X-ray, and then now I can put this to black because I have the eye selected, and I hit Paint All. So now it's only going to ignore the eyeballs, which obviously is not what we want it to do. We don't want it to ignore it. We want it to use the eyeball, but luckily there's an option for that. So I would go to Volume Select. It's going to say, okay, which ones you want selected? Oh, you want to select everything else but the eyeballs. But that's not what I want. So I can hit Invert, and it'll select what's colored instead. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and go to Morpher. And instead of Tanaka's one, we're going to go ahead and delete this one. We're going to load multiple targets, and we're going to choose Halsley instead, because I already have her eye made. You, on the other hand, are going to have to recreate your whole eyeball. Well, not recreate it, but shape it so it forms the eyeball you want it to form. But I have a template set up already, so I'm going to make it form it. And look, it's a huge improvement already. So I'm going to go back to Vertex Paint. I am going to hit this button so everything's back to normal. Then I'm going to go to Morpher, and I'm going to flatten it. So collapse all. There, I have it collapsed. Now let's take a look at Tanaka's regular eyes. So we're going to hit Alt and X to make it go X-ray. And we're going to load up her eyes. And look how far out her eyes are. Of course, I'm just gonna hide this part, the eye shields or whatever they're called. Oops, wrong button. Yeah, just go ahead and go to hide. It's a mesh, that's why it did it that way. I'd use a shortcut for it if it was edible poly to hide stuff, but I just saw it. I'll hide. Here we go. So now we have her eyeballs right here. So that's how far they should be. So let's go ahead and select her eyeballs. So we're going to just grab everything right here. Then I'm going to deselect the skin. And then I'm going to hit Alt and I. So it isolates everything but whatever I have selected. And then I'm going to not X-ray this, but I'll X-ray these eyeballs. And then I'll grab these. They're smaller than Halsley's eyes. But Halsley's not a Spartan, so that makes sense. Gonna line them up. This one's a little off. So let's go ahead and move it right there in the center of it. This one, this one's like a little bit behind. Push it forward. Place it in the middle. It's even slanted at a different angle. That might come back to bite us in the butt. This one looks pretty good though. But it's not the same size, and that's going to also be annoying. So let's go ahead and put the pivot point in the dead center. I got to do it again because I did it on the wrong thing. Now I'm scale. Okay, here we go. And I have my percentage. Oops, it's doing something weird. I must have misclicked. And I'm going to right click on this toolbar to open up the properties. Select 1 and 1 for the angle 1%. And now it's going to be scale by 1% each time. So I wanted to try to match it. So 110 might be a little too big. So let's go ahead and do 108 maybe. Yeah, looks pretty good. Sticking out a bit, but you know, better than what it was. So 108 for this one as well. Everything you do to the left, make sure you do to the right. I tend to have a notepad and I take down notes because sometimes you move certain vertices by like 0.5 or 0.005 of a unit, and you want to remember that so the eyes are matching. So now that I have it scaled to what I think is appropriate, let's go ahead and recenter it. So, yeah, that angle's all wrong. But that's probably the reason why I did that previously, so. Okay, there we go. Nice, looking good. Alright, so I'm happy with what I have now. I'm going to go ahead and unhide everything for Tanaka. And I'm going to hide her actual eyes and take a look at it. I think it's looking pretty good now. So, I have a head, a basic Genesis 8 female body base, and then I have her mouth needs to be edited because it's using the Genesis 8 base mouth positioning. Because remember we hit it in the Russian 3D scanner program, and now we're going to go ahead and fix that so it at least lines up with her original mouth, which is actually pretty close to what it is. So that's the entrance of the mouth. Her teeth are right here, and where we have our teeth are way up here. So here's what I normally do. I click this button, so it does polygons, and I always have editable poly when I edit my 3D models. I'm going to go down to select, I believe it's 4, so it does the teeth, and I believe 8 is the mouth. So what I do is make sure clear selections off. I go to select ID and I type in 4, then I hit select ID. So it selects the teeth and the mouth. Now I'm free to move it, but notice how it makes the this part right here all funky. You don't want that. So let's go ahead and let's see, what was it? Oh yes, isolate it. So Alt and I to isolate the 3D model. What you want to do now is, since this is all quads, we are lucky and we can, oops, let's unhide that. Find the edge right here. So, and then when you double click the edge, it'll select the ring of it. Doing that will let us leave that and convert it to a face texture. So we have the quads that have it selected. And now what we're going to do is Alt I, oh not Alt I, sorry, Control I to select it. And then we're going to unhide all. And now we can actually move it around. and at least it's kind of less mess uppy. So let's go ahead and unhide her original mouth again and find out where her mouth should be. Okay, her mouth should be right here. So we'll put the teeth right here, back it up a little bit so it matches her teeth position. Of course, you can also angle it if you want to. I normally don't. I just leave it as is. I just want the position of the teeth to be in the same area. So let's double check. Not helmet, mouth, teeth are right here. And her teeth are a little off, so there we go. Now it should be matched up pretty well. Now I can hide her mouth. And then I can double check. Everything's looking good so far. And we now have our edited Tanaka head. Of course, we have these dips in here. Easily can be fixed. What I normally do is just I grab the ones that are messed up. I normally would do a soft selection, and then I do edge distance of 20, just so it only affects whatever's on that board. Not board, that model. And I usually do like 1, or depending on how accurate you want to be, 0.25 or something. But I'm going to go ahead and go to, I believe it's relax. And it will relax it for me. And I have it set to 0.5 by default. But notice how it also affects this one back here, which messes up its flow. But the top part looks pretty cool. So let's take a look at what it was before, and then what it is now. But this is with soft selection enabled. So if we turn the soft selection off, it should only affect those 3. So let's go ahead and take a look at relax again. And it's better than what it was before. So we're going to do it without the soft selection. You can also just do it by hand if you're more confident like that. Sometimes it is better just to do it by hand. Never hurts to, try. And then you're going to see sometimes it might get bunched up over here in the corner. And for this, I'm really lazy, so I just grab these 2. Then I make sure my soft selection's on, and I normally put it up to 0.5 for this one. And I just hit relax, and I call it a day. So it brings it out, and it also spreads them out a bit so they're not all bunched together. This one right here, let's see. I think you don't really need to do a soft selection for this one. Oops, I double clicked. And I would hit relax. And this one, I just bring down myself. Okay, maybe relax wasn't the best for this one because it kind of messed it up a bit. There we go. So, we now have a pretty good looking eye. This is looking good. This side. Ooh, same issues as last time. Let's go ahead and give that a fix. And this is mostly all because of where I selected my points on the wrap. It's trying to match it as best as it can, but obviously it's not going to be perfect. It was these 2 I selected last time. Go back to my soft selection. I'll let edit vertices be hidden. Make that enabled. Go back here, hit relax. It relaxes it. And then I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to go to soft selection, disable it, move it about. Looks pretty good. Move forward a bit. Might move this one forward a bit. And I think that looks good so far. The eyebrows, that's always a tricky one. You never know. It may look weird here, but it might look fine in the actual 3D model. So what I do is normally get the arches. Well, not really. If you have a 3D model that has eyebrows as a separate mesh, you can always use that to line it up. So my eyebrows are off, but that's texture-wise, not 3D model-wise. So what you can do is simply lower the eyebrows yourself, the 3D model version, or you can try redoing the wrap and getting a better texture for it. But that's all up to you to do. I normally just edit the eyebrows to fix my wraps. So it may not be as accurate, but it saves you a lot more time than redoing the whole 3D model of the wrap. because you have to do all the markings. Get not really all the markings, you just gotta fix the eyebrows and the markings, recompile it, re-export it, and then import it, and then do all this again. So I'm gonna go ahead and do soft selection, and I'm gonna go down to relax, and it relaxes it. So we no longer have that high arc, but I don't want it to be a full relax. I want it to be a 0.5 relax. So it gives me somewhat of an arc. And now I'm going to go ahead and focus on these eyebrows. And a way to edit these is either A, you select the piece you want, or the vertices, and you go down to soft selection, and well, we got to remember this is part of the actual raw 3D model, and when it imports, it's super large. That's why I have to do 2000 just to get a decent selection. And if I move it, it moves it pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure. There we go. That looks good to me. Same thing with this one. Lower it, and then I'm going to move it to this way a bit. Of course, it's also going to mess it up a tiny bit, but nothing you can't fix. Let's go ahead and cut this to 1000, see if that makes any difference. Okay, 1000 is pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and do 500. There we go, 500 is pretty good. So I have that done. Oops. Let's go ahead and go back to here. Is this the equivalent of where I picked last time? No, it's not. Close it up. Remember, we're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to be lore accurate. Because at the end of the day, you want to be as close as possible. So, I have my eyebrows done now. Oh, I forgot to disable soft selection. So, there we go. Of course, it's not matching because the Halo 5 textures are colored in Engine. But you can color them yourself. So, I have my head, I have my eyes, I have my mouth fixed, and I have the imperfections edited a little bit. I forgot to do the ear right here. So let's find out what problem with the ear is. So X-ray should show me an issue. Here we go. That's one issue. It's just coming outside of the ear. So I think I can just do a simple relax, and that should fix it a couple times. There we go. And then I'll hit this one. I'll hit relax. Oh no, relax was a bad idea for that one. This one right here. The part that's sticking out. Relax. Nice. Now I have my ear. So, same scenario over here. Let's see if I messed up anywhere. Looking pretty good, actually. I think I saw, yeah, there's one sticking out right here. This tiny one. Relax. And I believe we are golden now. So, what we have so far is a Tanaka head that's pretty much ready for export. It's using a Genesis 8 female base body, so that you can... The reason why I don't do custom bodies with my heads is just in case the person who wants to use a character wants to give them their own unique body. So what if you're doing a Spartan story of Tanaka's, origin story as a Marine, like in the comic books? You're not going to obviously give her a Spartan body. You're going to give her a Marine body. So you can give her any body you want, and maybe you want to do a scene where she gets trapped on maybe a planet or something, so she starts starving. You're going to want to make her look like she's starved and all shriveled up in her... I'm assuming you're going to give her clothes, of course. But it fits the scene, whatever you need it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and put the hair on her now and see if that matches her, because we're honestly going to have to edit some of the other pieces, just like how we edited the eyebrows. The hair actually looks pretty good. And Halo 5 models don't have hair shells, like, a scalp or anything. So we only have this actual hair 3D model. And so far, so good, I'd say so. So remember, when you do your morphs, you can edit the material names and all that, because at the end of the day, when you import it into DAZ, it doesn't care what you have named as materials. What it cares about is the vertice positions, because it's just a morph. So here we can actually mess around, and if you wanted to change the texture, because remember, I have my quad still. my quad texture of her skin. So I can select this, make sure everything's selected, that the skin is, and then I'm going to go ahead and find my texture for her. Okay, so I have it loaded up and I have quad skin head selected. Dragging it, I just drop it onto what I have selected, and now I have Tanaka. So this would be our final version of her. Of course, you still got to do the eye textures and all that, but I use a program called iClone for the eye textures, and that's because I'm lazy. Because I created a basic square that matches the textures for the eyeballs. And I'll show you how I do that in the next video. And now here we go. So my head's done, my eyebrows are done, and my hair is done. And that's all I really need. Of course, you can also, I always keep the helmet and the visor together just because you never know when you might need it. Of course, I didn't move over the whole Spartan armor body because I haven't done the rig for that yet. But when I do the rig for that, I'll do it to Sarah Palmer first, then Vale, and then Tanaka. I don't have Sarah Palmer's Halo 5 textures, but I have her Halo 5 model. But I'm probably just going to use the Halo 5 multiplayer scout variant of her, and then try to edit the textures a bit to match her campaign outfit, like I did for my previous renders on my DeviantArt page. But this is transferring to DAZ, because I was always using iClone previously, because iClone is very efficient when it comes to render times. Sure, it's not using iRay technology or anything at the time when I was using it, but it's very clean and uses PBR. But DAZ is beautiful with its iRay rendering, though it takes a long time to do with the rendering. So whenever I do my turntables, they are horrible in DAZ, so I don't even bother making them there anymore. Only did it like once, never posted it. But nonetheless, so I have my finished Tanaka model now. So I'm going to hide the visor and the helmet. Just export the hair, the body, and the eyebrows. And remember, when you export it, make sure you're not editing the texture coordinates, the vertice coordinates, or optimizing, sorry, the vertexes and everything else, because everything needs to be exactly where you left it. And remember, DAZ may use a different unit, scaling unit than you do, measuring unit, sorry, than what you use. I use inches, but DAZ, I believe, uses either centimeters or uses the metric system. And so, on export, I have it converted to that, so it fits the right size. Otherwise, you're going to have a super tall morph or a super short morph. And I don't think you'd want a broken morph at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and end this little recording session here, and then I'll show it when I'm re-importing it into DAZ, so I can show you the process for that.